Call your next witness.
Your Honor, before I call the next witness, as a housekeeping matter, I would move to admit exhibits number 12 and 13.
Objection. All right, 12 and 13 is admitted.
Call Dr. Fatty Layoff, please.
You and be sworn. You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Please be seated.
Afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name for the record?
Fanny Leos.
Dr. Leos, starting with your college education, could you give me just a brief background to your history?
Well, I finished medical school in Syria, Aleppo University. Came to the States in 1997. In 1998, I started my internship and residency at Lutheran Medical Center in Brooklyn, New York. And after that, I did 2 years of fellowship at SIU, Southern Illinois University in Illinois.
And what were your fellowships concentrated in?
Pulmonary medicine.
Okay. And are you a specialist, board certified to practice pulmonary medicine?
I am.
After the completion of your education, what did you do next?
I did stay for about a year at SIU as a clinical instructor. And then after that, I had issues with my visa, where I had to go back to Syria and then come back here under a J1 visa.
How is it that you came to come back to the United States under a J1 visa?
Well, initially when you come to the United States on the J1 visa, I came on it to continue my education. And after that, you have either to leave the country for 2 years to your home country, or to serve in an underserved area for 3 years, and that will waive the need to go back to your country for 2 years.
Okay. And Doctor, who assisted you in coming back to the United States on a J1 visa?
Medical specialist did.
How and if you were recruited by medical specialists, tell me how that happened.
I don't remember the details, but I remember a recruiter calling me about the position in Northwest Indiana. And at that time, there was a really scarce positions in terms of employment positions for J1, or qualify for J1 waiver. And that one was one of the positions that offered that opportunity. So I did call Dr. Stemmer, and I came for an interview.
Okay, so did you come to the United States for that interview?
I was already here, finishing my fellowship.
So when you're finishing your fellowship, at some point in time, did you agree to come to work for medical specialists?
I did.
At that time, what year was that?
I think the interview was October 2003.
So in October of 2003, what was your understanding of the composition of medical specialists? What was it made up of?
At that time, I remember it was 36 physicians. I believe there was a PA or physician assistant. There was few, I can't remember the number, few nurse practitioners.
When you came, I'm sorry, not when you came, but when you came to work for medical specialists in PC, where did you work?
Primarily in Hammond, Indiana.
Okay. Do you remember where that office was located in Hammond?
I believe it's 5557 Holman Avenue.
Okay. And Doctor, how long did you work at that address?
I believe 7 or 8 years.
So it would have been 2010 or 2011, the length of time that you worked there?
Right.
Okay. And Doctor, when you worked there, did you also attend patients that were in the hospital?
I did.
What hospitals did you go to?
Primarily was St. Margaret Hospital North Campus in Hammond. I did some coverage on weekends at Community Hospital and St. Catherine as well, and occasionally at South Campus in Dyer, St. Margaret.
Okay. And at some point in time, did you move your office practice to 761 45th Street?
When I started my employment, I did have a day or half a day, I remember, at Munster as well. So there was a transition that happened over time where I became more and more involved in the Munster office than the Hammond office.
Okay. And as of or in or around October 1 of 2012, where did you concentrate your practice?
It was mostly in Munster.
Did you still see some patients at the Hammond office?
I stopped going to Hammond office probably 2 years ago.
When you stopped, well, I shouldn't say that. While at the facility in Munster, did you still admit patients to various hospitals around the region, St. Margaret's, North, South, Community in Munster, possibly others?
Yes.
Okay. Doctor, were you a shareholder in either Medical Specialist, Inc. PC, or company we've been referring to as FCCI?
I believe I became a shareholder 3 years after my employment.
And the different classes of shares that you owned, have any of those shares been repurchased by the company as a result of the asset sale?
The shares that were offered to me, Unit A shares, I did receive a payment at the time of the transaction that took place between Franciscan Alliance and Medical Specialist.
Do you also own B shares? What are classified as B shares?
I believe so.
Okay. How many do you believe you own?
100,000.
Are they worth $100,000? You have 100,000 shares.
With 100,000 shares.
Okay. And have you been paid for those shares?
Nope.
Okay. Do you know if those shares have been reclassified by the various companies?
I don't know for sure. I just heard it for the first time today that was classified as share B1. The story behind the B shares, I remember one time asking about them, and I was told that they were phantom shares, and I really never understood what the B shares are for.
Do you have a share certificate laying somewhere that says you own 100,000 B shares?
I do not.
Doctor, were you, because of your ownership, were you a member of the board of directors of Medical Specialist Inc. PC or FCCI?
Yes, I was.
Of which company?
I believe it was FCCI.
And as part and parcel to being a board member, were you made aware prior to October 1st of 2012 of the potential sale of all or substantially all of the assets of Medical Specialist Inc. PC?
Yes.
Were you privy to various versions of the asset purchase agreement while a member of the board of directors?
Yes.
When you first heard about the sale, was it as a member of the board of directors, or was it at what we've talked about today as a town hall style meeting where Dr. Stemmer was present?
I was not present in the town hall meetings. I remember the first time I heard about it, for sure it was May 2012.
And as a member of the board of directors from May of 2012 through, say, the end of September of 2012, did you ask specific questions about the sale, the asset sale, what the structure and how it was going to work to anybody?
I did.
Okay, who did you ask?
I did ask Dr. Stemmer. I did ask one of the attorneys who's taking care of they trying to explain to us the transaction. And I also discussed it with the rest of the partners.
Was it explained to you in the meetings where Dr. Stemmer was present what would become of Medical Specialists after the asset sale was completed?
At that time, the only thing they talked about is to leave maybe a room or rent a room in each clinic to our patients where doctors want to talk to them about birth control issues or abortions or anything that does not go within the Catholic guidelines, to move these patients into that little room that we'll call it medical specialist. So the billing for these services will stay under medical specialist. And that was the only remnant of medical specialists that I was aware of.
Did you understand, or were you made to understand that certain of the contracts would have to be, or would be, as part of the asset purchase, assumed by Franciscan Alliance?
Yes.
Okay. I want to talk specifically about positions, employment agreements. Was it offered to you at one time or another prior to October 1st, 2012 to assign or consent to the assignment of your contract to Franciscan Alliance?
Did it?
Who approached you about doing that?
The official meeting that I had concerning assigning my contract was with Dr. Stemmer and with Ms. Barkley.
Okay. And can you tell me at that meeting, I don't know if you can remember exactly the words that were said, but what was offered to you and what was your response?
It was offered to me a packaged deal or a packaged contract. That once you assign your contract, you will stay on the same current payment or method of payment for about 2 years or 3 years. It could be, there's three options: 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. And after that, it was just complete darkness. I didn't know what I'm getting into. And I did ask a few questions. Did not get all the answers that I wanted at the time. I did ask for another meeting, which I was not granted until probably September 30th, the day before, or maybe the weekend before. Was a Friday before Monday, the October 1st, 2012.
At the initial meeting you had with Ms. Green and Dr. Stemmer, was anything in addition to signing the assignment or the consent to assignment presented to you by way of additional compensation? I'm talking about the initial meeting.
I think there was a draft of a guaranteed salary, yes.
At the next meeting that you attended with Ms. Green and with Dr. Stemmer, was anything offered to you that had not been offered to you previously?
I did not have a meeting with Ms. Green. It was just Dr. Stemmer, the last
Can you tell me
meeting.
about that meeting?
Well, the last meeting I had with Dr. Stemmer was about what else can we do for you to sign? And at that time, unfortunately, I made my decision not to move forward. I felt that I was disrespected, waiting for 7 weeks. That I requested meetings twice. Did not even get a phone call back. And I made my decision not to stay.
Okay. What else did you base your decision not to stay in? Anything?
Well, several reasons. Initially, there was no way you can negotiate the contract. It seems like everything was packaged, and you accept it as is, or you just leave. So that was not, I wasn't happy with that. I could not negotiate any of my contract. The other thing that I disagreed with is you're being forced to practice within parameters that probably I don't believe in completely. And I felt that I would be handcuffed trying to practice within these tight parameters.
And Doctor, did the difference in the size of the groups have any bearing on your decision working for Franciscan Alliance versus medical specialists?
I did express that during the meeting that I had with Dr. Summer and with Ms. Barkley, that being a number in a 600-doctor organization was not one thing that I was really interested in. Being in a smaller group, you have your name, you have your identity, and you have access to your boss or superiors within minutes of each. Any decision that's made may affect your life or affect your career. You can probably have a direct conversation with your superiors right away versus working to a company that spreads all the way to Indianapolis and Mishawaka. This access will be very limited.
And you had, over the time from 2003 2003 to 2012 climbed relatively high in the organization. Is that correct?
I did.
You're a member of the board of directors.
Right.
Were you, if you know from the information that you saw, one of the higher earning positions within the practice?
Probably, if not the highest, one of the highest in my department, pulmonary.
Doctor, during the meetings that you had either with just Dr. Stemmer or with Dr. Stemmer and Ms. Green, were you ever offered to continue your employment with medical specialist APC?
No.
Has any offer of employment to continue working for medical specialist APC been made to you since October 1st, 2012?
Never.
Are you aware, as you sit here today, that other doctors have been offered that opportunity?
Yes.
Do you know why you specifically weren't? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Have you ever entered into, other than perhaps directorships or something along those lines, have you ever entered into an employment agreement to be employed by Franciscan Alliance?
No.
Have you ever been a medical director?
Yes.
Where?
St. Margaret Hospital.
South Campus, North Campus, or both?
I believe both for respiratory.
When did you cease to be a director?
I don't know.
When you were a medical specialist between October 1st, 2012 and June 30th, 2013, did you assume, or did you do medical director duties?
I cannot recall.
Or when's the last time you recall performing as a medical director under a contract?
Well, performing the duties doesn't really answer the question correctly. When was the last time probably I submitted time to get paid as a medical director?
Okay,
and I believe that probably prior to October of 2012. I am not 100% sure, but I believe that was prior to 2012.
Has anyone ever told you that you're still a medical director and that you're derelict in your duties?
No.
Currently, as you sit here today, are you a medical director at any organization or hospital?
I believe I am a medical director in St. Mary's Hospital, their sleep lab. I haven't been receiving any payments for it, though. And I have no contract.
If there are payments being made, do you know where they're being made to? If there are payments being made, do you know where they're being made to?
Currently, it should be made to me directly, but I haven't received any.
Doctor, do you currently maintain a medical practice at 1650 45th Street, Munster?
Yes, I do.
What is the name of that practice?
Pulmonology and Allergy Associates.
Is that within 10 miles of the 761 45th Street office of the medical specialist?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Doctor, at a point in time, did you sign a letter of resignation to medical specialists?
I believe I did.
When do you think that was?
Probably December 2012.
And the resignation parameters, as I understand it, Doctor, you have to resign by that date in order to leave that company within 6 months' time from that point.
That's what initial contract says, yes.
And Doctor, I believe your agreement. Can you please take a look at Exhibit K? You should find it there on the table.
Yes.
Okay. Doctor, did you ever assign that agreement to anyone else? In other words, did you ever sign a document replacing the name medical specialist Inc. PC with anyone else?
No.
Doctor, the original date on the contract, is it the 23rd day of October 2003 on the face?
Correct.
And as time went on, there were certain amendments to this contract, were there not, regarding your compensation?
I don't believe I signed anything in writing in terms of amendments. It was something that we agreed on, and I don't remember there's anything in writing that I signed.
Can you look 2 pages from the end of the document, Doctor? There's a letter that begins, "Dear Sally." I think maybe your version may be different than the one I'm looking at. Doctor, if you're, I think it is, because I can tell. Do you see that there?
I'm sorry, which one?
A letter that starts with the words "Dear Sally," or is that not in that version of the document? Doctor, that's okay. We don't need to wait. I'm looking for it.
Sure.
If your compensation was going to change, would you have that on a piece of paper, or would it be an agreement with someone that someone would sign an initial?
Oh, I see it now. It was the last one. Yeah, that was an email that I sent to Sally after myself and Dr. Stemmer discussed my compensation with the company starting my first year. And we agreed on $160,000. When they sent me the contract, it read $150,000. So I just wanted to clarify that, and I think they made the adjustment on the same contract.
Doctor, do you know, as a result of the asset sale that was finalized and took effect on October 1st, 2012, what assets remain in the name or in the ownership of Medical Specialists Inc. PC?
At that time I did not, but now I do.
What are they?
Well, according to the depositions that I read, and
I object now to him testifying about information gleaned from depositions.
That's a fair question. Doctor, do you know, independent of reading those depositions, what assets Medical Specialist still owns, or owned as of October 1st, 2012?
I don't.
Having seen the asset purchase agreement as a member of the board of directors, did you know if the company was selling all of its equipment?
I believe they did.
Do you know if they sold all of their supplies?
I believe they did.
Do you know if listed in those documents were the sale of the medical directorship agreements?
Yes, they did.
Also, listed in those documents were employment agreements that were being sold. Is that correct?
Would you repeat the question?
Also listed in the asset purchase agreement, what I guess I referred to as the sale documents, that there were certain contracts that were being sold or assumed by Franciscan Alliance.
Assigned to Franciscan Alliance, yes.
Doctor, do you know if your contract was ever listed as one of the contracts that was being sold to Franciscan Alliance?
I don't believe seeing it listed.
Doctor, do you recall if the asset purchase agreement contained within it a clause which stated that Medical Specialists Inc. could not compete within 25 miles of 761 45th Street with Franciscan
I
Alliance?
guess I'll object to this witness testifying about a document which is in evidence. He's simply repeating what's already there, so I'll object because it's cumulative. And at this late time, I think it's a 403 objection.
Right, and that's fine. I think, quite frankly, it is cumulative. Dr. Leos was a member of the board of directors, and I think had more particular knowledge of this than the others who were not. But I'll digress and move on. I think it's already on the record. Dr. Leos, at a point in time, did you receive information regarding health insurance benefits that were changing after October 1st, 2012?
Yes.
Doctor, could you take a look at Exhibit 12? 12, please. Is that Exhibit number 12? Doctor, is that document marked Exhibit number 12?
Yes.
Okay. Attached to that is a form regarding health insurance.
Yes.
Did you receive a similar form to that for you to fill out from Francisco?
I did.
Okay. What name appears, what name of the employer appears on that form?
Franciscan Physician Network Medical Specialists.
At the time you were asked to sign that document to obtain health benefits, were you an employee of that organization?
Nope.
Did you sign it?
I did not.
Okay. What did you do in order to provide yourself with health benefits?
I had to buy my own.
Okay. So you bought your own policy for yourself?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Was that a benefit in your employment agreement that medical specialists was supposed to provide for you?
I believe so.
Had they so provided that for you up until October 1st, 2012 or January 1st, 2013?
Yes, they did.
Okay. Up until what date? I think there are some emails, correspondence back on Exhibit 12. About what time did you receive that information?
January 8th, 2013.
Were you concerned that your coverage had already been canceled at that point?
Yes, for 8 days at least.
And how long did it take you to procure your own health insurance?
It took about 2 or 3 weeks.
Dr. Leos, I think you've heard some testimony in the court, and I think you're aware of the fact that there has been some discussion regarding patient lists.
Yes.
Aware of that? Could
Yes.
you please take, I believe it's Exhibit V.
B.
V is
Oh,
in
B as a victim.
Should have a green cover.
Yes.
Are the materials contained within Exhibit V a list that you compiled?
Yes, it is.
And are those patients that you treated?
Yes, they are.
How did you go about compiling that list?
Well, starting in probably after mid-April, let me just give you a
Sorry,
background.
after mid-April of
2015. I'll give you a background of our patients. We, as you know, we treat chronic conditions, emphysema, COPD, sleep apnea, and these patients, they have frequent visits, and they're spaced in 3 months, 6 months, 2 months. It depends on the severity of each condition. So starting about mid-April, when I'm telling my patient I'll see you in 3 months, if I didn't tell them where I'm going or I'm not staying in this office, I'd be lying to them, and I don't want to lie to my patients.
So how did you ultimately compile the list?
Well, I was telling my patient, I'll see you, your appointment should be in 3 months, but I'm not going to be here in 3 months. I'm leaving this practice. And patients asked me, where are you going? And I said, I don't know where I'm going yet. Are you leaving the area? I'm trying not to. And then patients will ask me, well, can I follow you? And I say, I'll be happy to. And they'll say, well, how can we get a hold of you? And I said, well, I have no phone number, I have no office address to give you right now, but all I can do, if you volunteer your information, then I can probably contact you. And everybody wrote their name, wrote their phone number, some of them email, some of them address, and I said, you know, they gave it to me, and I said, please contact me as soon as you know where your office is going to be.
And I think your MA medical assistant is Amy.
Yes.
Is that correct? And Amy testified yesterday. You were here in court when she did so.
Yes, I was.
In addition to what's contained in Exhibit V, there were also some handwritten names and phone numbers. Do you recall that?
Well, basically all of them were handwritten initially.
And how did they end up being typed in that list?
I did that myself.
Were the names that were on loose, I shouldn't say loose paper, but the paper with handwriting on them, Amy shredded those, did she not?
The initial ones, after I compiled this list and typed it myself, I shredded them myself because there's no need for them. And then the other papers that she had, I think she shredded them after she called the patient and entered their information into our EMR or electronic medical records.
Doctor, did you order her to shred those?
Did I order her to shred those?
Yes.
No, I did not.
Did you ask her to shred?
No, I did not.
So if she shredded them of her own volition, not at your direction.
That's true.
Dr. O'Henry, what I marked for identification is Exhibit 16. Yeah.
I think this was already admitted, wasn't it?
I think there are similar letters with different physicians' names on them. I think we had one for Dr. Sethi, not for Dr. Patel, but we did have one for Dr. Sethi. Doctor, do you recognize that document?
I've seen it.
Okay, what is it?
It's a letter sent by Dr. Alexander Stemmer, designated as President of Medical Specialist, informing my patients that I am leaving, and there is another physician who is taking my place, and he'll be happy to have my patients follow up with these with this new physician.
Who does it state is taking your place?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Who does it state is taking your place?
Who stated that?
No. What doctor is filling your role?
Oh, it's upon Desai.
Do you know if Dr. Desai has ever been employed as medical specialist in PC?
Not to my knowledge.
Do you know who employs Dr. Desai?
I believe it's Franciscan Medical Specialist or Franciscan Alliance.
Is there any information contained in that letter providing any methodology by which your patients can contact you if they want to follow up with it?
No?
Doctor, did you see, about when, let me ask you this, before today, have you seen that letter?
Yes, a patient of mine actually emailed it to me. This patient happened to be the wife of one of the doctors in the area who refers a lot of patients to me, and we know him as a family. And she emailed me this letter saying, did you see this?
I object to what some third person has told him. That's hearsay.
Other than what she said to you, what did you do with the letter once you received it?
What did I do with it? I read it.
Did you give it to me?
I did.
Doctor, whose letterhead is that letter written on?
Medical Specialist.
If you'll read in the first paragraph of the letter, I believe it states, I am pleased to inform you that we have an experienced infectious disease doctor. Is that correct? Pulmonary disease physician.
Yes.
Okay, can you read it for me where it starts with I am pleased?
I am pleased to inform you that we have an experienced pulmonary and sleep medicine specialist, Dr. Tapan Desai, who is available to assume your medical care.
And when it says we on the letter, who signs the letter?
Dr. Alexander Stemmer,
And that's on behalf of medical, as the president of medical specialists?
that's what's stated there, yes.
Doctor, do you also maintain an office in Valparaiso, Indiana?
I have a timeshare in Valparaiso, Indiana.
Okay, explain to me what a timeshare is.
The timeshare is it's an office that you share with other physicians. It's not designated to be your own office. You have 4 hours a week that you can see patients in this facility.
And you pay rent for that?
I do.
Do you have a different medical assistant there, or does Amy go with you?
Amy goes with me.
And Amy's the medical assistant that you're yesterday?
Yes.
Doctor, during your tenure with medical specialists, you have been at St. Margaret's North, St. Margaret's South Community Hospital in Munster. You've been at St. Mary's Hospital in Hobart. Any other hospitals where you've seen patients?
The 3 hospitals you mentioned, St. Margaret North and South Community Hospital and St. Catherine. St. Mary's, I did not do any inpatient consultation or pulmonary consultation. My presence there was purely for sleep medicine.
But you did perform services there for sleep medicine.
Yes, I did.
Any other hospitals that you've had to conduct rounds at or see patients in on behalf of medical specialists during that time?
Two little hospitals called LTAC hospitals, acute care facility. It's a semi-hospital, semi-nursing home. One is called the Regency Hospital, which is in the same building where St. Catherine is in East Chicago. And the other one is Kindred, used to be Select Hospital. It is in the same building of St. Margaret Mercy in Hammond, Indiana.
And doctors, if your understanding of the restrictive covenants in your agreement were applicable, would you have to work, practice, and see patients at hospitals or facilities outside of a 10-mile radius from each one of those hospitals or clinics?
Yes.
Does that comprise the greater part of Northwest Indiana?
I believe it comprises the whole Lake County.
Thank you. I don't have any more questions.
Cross-examination.
The payments you received for your Class A units came as a result of the asset sale agreement?
I believe so.
And what was the payment you received for your Class A?
114,000 and a few hundreds.
Did you discuss with Dr. Stemmer a signing bonus with the Franciscan Alliance in conjunction with the assignment of your contract?
He offered me a signing bonus, yes.
And what amount?
$75,000.
And then you said that your compensation formula and compensation agreement would carry over for, you thought, 2 to 3 years if the Franciscan Alliance and you agreed with regard to the assignment of your contract?
Well, it depends. If you sign your contract for 3 years, probably yes. If you sign it for 2 years or you sign it for 1 year. Now, I have no assurance, except for verbal assurance, that the payment or the method of calculating my salary will be the same.
The method of calculating your salary as a medical specialist employee included a salary guarantee. Is that correct?
Yes, it did.
And then you received an incentive bonus for amounts up to $500,000. If
you generate more than $500,000, then you could get a bonus, yes.
And how about amounts over $500,000? Would you also get a bonus?
Of course you could.
And would that a bonus be greater?
Well, here's how it started. Initially, my portion of my whatever I generate was 40%, and medical specialists will collect 60%, up until you go to $500,000. And then whatever you generate after that will be split 50-50. Now, after becoming a partner or a unit holder, you will, if you hit the $500,000 in generation, you generate that amount, you will get 50% of this. So the $50,000 extra that you get was given to us in a term of a bonus. Still, the formula will stay the same, 40-60. But since you're a partner or an A unit holder, you'll get that extra $50,000 if you hit that target. Now, after that target, after the $500,000, will stay 50-50 until you hit 650, I believe. And then from there, it will become 60%, I believe.
60%
for the doctor, and then 40% to go to the company.
And I think you indicated to us earlier that based upon the formula and your productivity for medical specialists, you were the highest or among the highest paid of the pulmonary physicians.
I was the highest earner. Because the way you get paid is how much you generate.
Now, when you came here, you came, first of all, from Southern Illinois, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you did not have an established practice in this area, is that correct?
No, I did not.
And working under this J-1 visa, did that obviate the need to return for the 2-year period to your home country?
Yes, it did.
Without a J-1, would you have had the separation from the practice of medicine in the United States for that 2-year period from 2003 to 2005?
Not necessarily. I could have found a job somewhere else, probably.
But you didn't have to because of this arrangement? Because medical
Well, once you find a job, if you like it, you stay with it. You don't have to keep working.
Now, have you sought hospital staff privileges at Porter Memorial Hospital? At Porter Hospital, I think is that what they call it?
I made a phone call. I did not apply. I did not receive an application form, and I did not talk to any of the physicians or on staff at Porter Memorial Hospital.
So as we sit here today, you have not filed a formal application?
Absolutely not.
You see patients in Valparaiso, is that correct?
I started doing that probably mid-July of 2013, maybe the last week of July. I've been there only 2 or 3 times in the last 2 months. Saw a few patients.
Now, this professional association that you have with Dr. Sethi and Dr. Patel in Munster, did you enter into lease discussions with the landlord prior to your departure from medical specialists at the end of June?
mid-June is when we found the place.
And did you execute a lease at or about that time?
The lease was executed probably mid-June to maybe the last week of June, somewhere in there. I can't really remember 100%.
And by that time, that mid-June, at the time of the lease, had you completed your handwritten notes with regard to the patients in your practice that appear on the list?
I don't recall.
Did you continue to work on that list after you signed the lease?
I don't recall.
Were you working on that lease from? Were you working on that list from April?
I had the handwritten one for sure in April, and they were just pieces of paper that had several names, whatever patients asked me these questions that I mentioned before.
Did you bring to Dr. Stemmer's attention the fact that you were compiling this list and intended to depart from the practice with it?
No, I did not.
Did you instruct Amy to begin calling the individuals whose names appeared on the list?
I don't remember instructing her, no.
Well, did she begin to call them?
I believe she did.
Did you say stop?
I did not say stop, no. I do have a moral obligation toward my patients to let them know what I am. These are the patients who did ask me personally, please call us, let us know where you are.
Did the agreement that you signed with medical specialists that is in front of you today contain a covenant not to practice within 10 miles of any medical specialist location for 2 years after your departure?
Well, it says what it says.
And the answer is yes.
If this is what's written on the document, yes.
And you are not the only pulmonary care physician available, are you?
I was the only sleep specialist available.
There are other sleep physicians, aren't there, in Lake County?
I believe so. But not a medical specialist.
And you're not saying that all of those individuals that appear on the list are sleep patients, are you?
I'm not saying all of them are, no.
In fact, your testimony on direct was about patients who had other medical conditions such as asthma or asthma exacerbations or COPD or the like, correct?
Well, most patients don't have one disease. I'll be a little surprised. I don't see patients who are 20 or 30. My patient's 65 and above, and I have patients up to 93 years old. So these patients usually have multiple medical conditions. And definitely, any emphysema patient or COPD at some point had a sleep study. And most of them do test positive for that. So I do have patients who have both conditions, more than one condition for sure.
Now, the list that was compiled, have the telephone calls been completed to everybody on the list?
I have no idea.
Have messages been left for everybody who was not able to be reached with the telephone call?
I wasn't the one who made a phone call, so I can't really testify for that.
Has Amy reported to you about the success of her endeavors on your behalf?
No.
Objection, hearsay.
Just asking if he has received a notice of a report.
Overruled.
I did not.
He answered no.
Is this a matter you're concerned about?
No, I'm not.
Well, I thought you told us that making sure that you have follow-up with these patients was very important to you.
Well, it is important to me, of course it is.
So weren't you concerned about whether or not Amy was able to report to you about who she was able to get in contact with?
Amy is a very, very good and very devoted person, and I'm sure she always completes her job 100%. So I was not worried about her performing her job.
So you assume that she contacted everybody on the list?
Yes.
Good.
Now, you filed a declaratory judgment action with 3 of your colleagues, did you not?
I did.
And have you received any notification that this court has approved your relocation to the 1650 45th Street in Munster?
I did not ask the court to approve my relocation.
Has anybody advised you that, from the court, that it's okay for you to go ahead and leave with this patient list?
I did not ask the court if I could do that.
Are your current business associates former employees of medical specialists?
Yes.
Are the employees that you have at Pulmonary and Allergy Associates former people with whom you work at 761 45th?
Former people who I worked with?
Yes.
Yeah, former people, yes.
And are you seeing patients that you took care of at 761 45th in your new location?
I am seeing these patients, yes.
That's all.
Redirect.
I think briefly, Your Honor. Doctor, could you again look at your employment agreement, which is Exhibit K?
Yes.
Excuse me. On page number 1, at the top, is medical specialist Inc. PC on the first and second line defined as quote-unquote corporation?
Yes.
Okay. Could you please turn to section 4.6 of the agreement at page 8?
Yes.
Under section 4.6, item small I, and the covenant not to solicit or interfere, it states that you're not to induce, influence, or attempt to influence any of the corporation's employees to alter or terminate their employment with the corporation. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Who did Amy work for?
FCCI.
Amy did not work as an employee of Medical Specialist Inc. PC. Is that correct?
Never.
Doctor, do you know if Amy, your current medical assistant, was employed by FCCI the entire time she was a medical specialist, or did that change in January of 2013 or December of 2012?
To my knowledge, was the employees or the MAs and all the staff, secretaries, they were supposed to transfer to Franciscan medical specialists, Franciscan Alliance, in January. Initially, their FCCI contracts were leased to Franciscan, and then they will be transferred completely into Franciscan. They get paid by Franciscan, and they get, I think, their benefits and everything else. I am not sure if this really happened. I did not keep, track of it.
Okay. That's all I have.
Nothing?
Sir, Doctor, you may sit down. Thank you. Okay.
We'll call Dr. Excuse me. Let me take a drink of water here. We'll call Dr. Atassi. Yeah.
Doctor, I'll raise your right hand and be sworn. Do you solemnly swear affirm tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Please be seated.
Dr. Atassi, could you please state your name for the record?
Keenan, K-I-N-A, Atassi, A-T-T-A-S-S-I.
Dr. Atassi, you are a physician,
Yes.
and you're licensed to practice medicine in the state of Indiana.
Yes.
Do you have any board certifications?
Yes.
And what are you certified in?
Infectious diseases.
And Dr. Atassi, where did you receive your medical degree from?
Damascus University Faculty of Medicine.
Did you perform a residency after you received your degree?
Yes, I did.
Where?
Mercy Hospital, University of Illinois.
Okay. And after you finished your residency, did you do a fellowship?
Yes, I did.
Where?
I did it in Detroit, Wayne State University, William Beaumont Hospital.
And was that fellowship devoted to any particular specialty?
Infectious disease.
After you finished your fellowship, what's the next thing that happened in your career as a physician?
I left to Saudi Arabia where I practiced for 4 years.
Tell me about your practice in Saudi Arabia.
I joined a hospital there where I worked as a medical director for 4 years. And then I came back here.
How many beds in that hospital?
I believe approximately 600 beds.
Okay. And after you finished up with the hospital in Saudi Arabia, did you return to the United States to work as a physician?
Correct.
And who was your first employer upon returning to the United States?
Medical specialist.
Okay. Now tell me how it is that you came to join medical specialist from practicing in Saudi Arabia.
I had a J1 requirement where I had to leave the country for 2 years or do exactly like Dr. Lewis mentioned, a waiver in an underserved area. So basically when I left the United States, I did not leave to the country of origin, which in my case is either the United States or Syria. I left to Saudi Arabia and that wasn't counted towards my 2 years. So the underserved area of the waiver was still for me a requirement.
Okay. How is it that you first came to hear of medical specialists?
Through actually, I came here for a medical conference, and I have family that lives in Chicago, and a lot of friends that work here in this area as physician, and one of the physicians actually told me, why don't you try to do your waiver here? You can live in Chicago, you can live next to your family, and this is how it came. So he knew Dr. Stemmer, he talked to Dr. Stemmer, and this is how I met Dr. Stemmer.
Okay. And eventually, after meeting with Dr. Stemmer, you decided to become an employee medical specialist?
Correct.
When approximately did that happen?
I started practicing, I think, at the end of March 2007.
Did Dr. Stemmer and medical specialists assist you with getting the visa requirements for return to your home country waived?
Yes.
Was that something that was attractive to you in deciding to join medical specialists?
Absolutely.
Doctor, do you know if medical specialists sent a letter to the Indiana State Department of Health on your behalf in support of obtaining a visa waiver for you?
I do believe yes.
Okay. I am going to hand you a document that the court reporter has marked as, or strike that. I guess I'm going to mark it. Where are we at? 17. As 17. And can you tell me if that's the letter that Dr. Stemmer sent to the State Department of Health on your behalf?
Yes, it is.
We'll move to admit 17.
Okay.
17 is admitted.
And eventually you were successful in obtaining a waiver of those visa requirements.
Correct.
And after you did so, you began working for a medical specialist.
Correct.
Okay. Now, Dr. Atassi, you were employed with medical specialists from 2007 until the end of the term of your employment, which was when?
Which was, in I believe, October 1st.
Okay. And around that time, you became aware that medical specialist was engaged in an asset sale transaction with Franciscan.
A little bit earlier than that, yes.
A little bit earlier than that, and you had some questions concerning your legal rights and how that transaction would affect your rights, and so you directed us to file this lawsuit.
Correct.
Okay, and after that, you continued to work in the locations that you had worked with medical specialists until about June 30th, 2013?
I continued working. I'm not sure if it was medical specialist, but yes, I continued working until June 30th.
Okay. Now, I just want to back up and talk about where you worked during the term of your employment with medical specialists. And I'd like to go through each one of the locations that you worked at.
It's a long list.
sure.
But my main hospital is St. Catherine Hospital,
Okay.
Regency Hospital in East Chicago.
Wait,
Okay.
just bear with me. St. Catherine Hospital, where is that?
East Chicago.
Okay. And is that a hospital that's within the community hospital system?
Correct.
Okay. You worked there while you were employed with medical specialists?
Correct.
And that's your main hospital?
That's my main hospital.
Okay. And just before we go any further with the hospitals, could you tell the court about your practice with medical specialists? Was it primarily hospital-based?
It was primarily hospital. Infectious disease primarily hospital-based. We do have clinics where we see follow-ups, and at times we have patients that follow up on a regular basis with us, like HIV patients or hepatitis patients. But it's mainly hospital-based.
Okay. You're describing the difference between inpatient and outpatient practice.
Correct.
Okay. And so mostly with medical specialists, you had an inpatient practice.
Mostly with medical, as an infectious disease, yes. I'm mostly, which I was practicing, yes. My practice was mostly inpatient.
Okay. And from 2007 until October of 2012, that was primarily at St. Catherine Hospital in East Chicago?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you do, or you have done some outpatient practice when you were an employed medical specialist, right?
Correct.
Okay, now tell the court where you did your outpatient practice at.
I had two offices. One was on Holman Avenue.
Holman Avenue and Hammond?
In Hammond.
Okay.
And one was in Munster, the main, by the administration building. I believe they mentioned the address before.
Do you have an address for that building?
They mentioned the building, the address, so I think it was 7761 before.
761.
761.
All right. All right, now, other than those two places, during the time that you were employed with medical specialists, did you perform outpatient services anywhere else?
I did not.
Okay. Now let's go through all of the hospitals that you performed services for while you were employed with medical specialists. You had St. Catherine in East Chicago.
I had also Regency in East Chicago.
Regency in East Chicago.
Some other hospital, both North and South Campus, and those are Franciscan hospitals.
And those were in Hammond and Dyer.
In Hammond and Dyer.
Okay.
I had, I believe now the name is Franciscan Munster Hospital. It used to be Physician Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Munster Community Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
We Methodist North and South campuses, both in Gary and Miracle. Vibra, and I think it's in Palm Point. St. Anthony in Crown Point, St. Mary in Hobart, Porter in Portage, and there's also the Regency in Portage, and there's LaPorte Hospital, and I'm not sure if I think I had privileges at St. Anthony, Michigan City, which they started covering lately, but I've never been there.
Okay, so you're talking about quite a number of different hospitals throughout northwest Indiana, stretching from Hammond
To
in
LaPorte.
the west to, what is it, LaPorte, as far east as you practice?
Correct.
Okay. Have you served as medical director at any of those hospitals?
I served at St. Catherine Hospital as the infection control director,
Okay.
and the same at Regency Hospital in Chicago.
Do you still serve as medical director at Regency in East Chicago?
No, I do not.
Okay. And you served as a medical director at St. Catherine in what specialty?
Infection control.
Okay. And are you still filling that position as we sit here today?
I'm not filling that position. I was asked to fill it as an acting, because my contract ended and there's no one that showed up to fill that position, so they asked me to continue as acting medical director.
Okay. Tell the court what your duties, well, first of all, let's talk about when did you first begin serving as a medical director for infection control at St. Catherine?
I believe it was shortly after I joined. Originally there was a Dr. Alice Shaleski at St. Catherine when I came, and when she left, I became the infection control director.
Okay. So roughly around 2007, 2008.
I think it was still 2007.
Okay. And you're saying now that, as far as you know, you're sitting as an acting director.
Correct.
Okay. Tell the court generally what your duties and obligations were, and I guess are, as a director of infection control at St. Catherine.
It's mainly administrative position where we follow infection rates in terms of hospital-acquired infection. We put policies and procedure to prevent infections. That's mainly what our duty is as an infection control director.
Okay. And you learned at some point that you're sitting as an acting director. How did you learn that?
I was asked and approached that there's no one to fill that position. If I can just fill temporarily until it's clarified who's going to be the next infection control director.
Okay. And who asked you to do that?
The infection control and the head of and the CEO of the hospital.
Okay. St. Catherine Hospital.
St. Catherine Hospital.
Are you being compensated for your duties as acting director of infection control?
No, I'm not. I don't even have a contract.
Okay. Let's talk about some other medical director agreements. There are a number of there in front of you. Starting with Exhibit A and moving on through Exhibit F, if you can find those for me. Out of order here. Yeah. Exhibit A. through F. There's C and D. B left, I guess. It's B left. Now B and C. Look for the ones with B. Yeah, A left now.
I need E still.
Well, we'll get back to you. Let's just take a moment to do that. Okay, Exhibit A, is that a medical director agreement for?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. That is for acute care respiratory services at St. Catherine.
Not sure.
Am I right about that?
What does it say? Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Do you have any interest in serving as the medical director for respiratory services?
No, I do not.
Are you trained to do that?
No, I'm not.
Okay, and now number 2, how about wound care at St. Catherine? Do you agree with me that's a medical director agreement for wound care?
Yes, it is.
Do you have any interest in serving as medical director for wound care at St. Catherine?
I don't even know that there is a medical director for wound care at St. Catherine.
Okay, and Exhibit C, would you agree with me that that's a medical director agreement for respiratory services? At the community hospital.
I have nothing to do with respiratory services.
So you couldn't fill that position even if you wanted to?
No, I do not.
Okay. And now let's take a look at Exhibit D.
That's wound care.
Well, this is a medical director agreement for infection control at St. Catherine, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And that shows that it's an agreement between medical specialists and St. Catherine, right?
Correct.
Okay. Has anybody told you that there's a medical specialist position that wishes to serve as a medical director for infection control at St. Catherine?
I don't believe there's anyone from medical specialist right now that serves as an infectious disease physician.
You were asked to fill that position because nobody else had stepped forward to fill it. Is that true?
Absolutely correct.
Okay. Now, Dr. Atassi, at some point, you learned that Franciscan Alliance was proposing to acquire medical specialists.
Correct.
And were you asked to assign your employment agreement with medical specialists to Franciscan?
Yes, I was.
Okay, tell me about the conversations that you had with Dr. Stemmer or people on the administration. Well, we'll start with Dr. Stemmer about assigning your employment agreement to Franciscan.
There was a meeting that, and I don't recall all the meetings, but there was a meeting with Dr. Stemmer, and there were two other persons in the room at that time, but Dr. Stemmer was the only person that I talked to. There was Ms. Barb Green, and I think there was Karen Gangenheimer, where they presented to me a package with a new offer from Franciscan, which shows a base salary, and it shows the benefits. And that was the time when they asked me to sign the contract.
Okay. And at any time during those conversations, was it indicated to you that you could continue to work as a medical specialist physician while working in the community healthcare system after you assigned your contract?
No, it was not.
Okay. And ultimately you decided not to assign your contract to Franciscan?
Correct.
Okay, now tell the court why you decided not to assign your employment agreement to Franciscan.
Well, I had multiple reasons. Number one, as a former medical specialist, I worked in only hospitals that are affiliated with the community health system, so I never worked for a hospital that was with Franciscan system, except when I covered over a weekend, when I covered my partners. So all my referral source was at the community health system, mainly at St. Catherine's Hospital. And at that time I was concerned if I assigned my contract to Franciscan and down the road Franciscan community might do the same thing that Franciscan did and start hiring their own physicians, that I would be totally out of the picture and I have to leave anyway. So that was one of my major concerns. Number two, when I came here and after I decided to become a partner with a medical specialist, I was hoping to remain with a company where I know who the CEO is, where I can have a direct contact with them and not be an employee of a large hospital. So that was another reason why I did not sign I did not assign my contract to Francisca.
Okay, so your primary source of income as an employee of a medical specialist was from work that you performed in the community healthcare system.
My primary source at the beginning, yes, it was only from my work there, but then I became a partner and I had another portion that I used to get from my partnership, which if I assigned my contract to Franciscan, I would have lost, and that was actually a third reason why I did not decide to go with Franciscan, because I would have lost the opportunity to get that extra income from the partnership.
Okay. The opportunity to remain employed as a medical specialist physician while within the community, while practicing in the community healthcare system, was something that was important to you at the time you made the decision of whether or not to assign your contract?
Can you repeat that question?
Sure. The opportunity to remain employed with medical specialists while working within the community healthcare system is something that would have been important to you when you made your decision of whether or not to assign your contract.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And now you've learned from the testimony during these proceedings that opportunity has been made available to some other physicians.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know which physicians that opportunity has been made available to?
A physician that is not even here yet.
Okay. Well, has that position or that opportunity been made available to Dr. Dumont?
To work with medical specialists?
Yeah.
Well, there was, I heard about a letter of an intent or an agreement.
It's actually in evidence. You can look at it. If you have it up there, that's...
I think we're getting cumulative. We all agree that offer has been made.
Okay, and that offer has been made to Dr. Smith as well?
Correct.
Okay, and that offer has been made to Dr. Stokar as well?
From what I heard, yes.
Okay. And you've heard those doctors described as part of the founders group of medical specialists, haven't you?
I know they are part of the founders.
curiosity, you signed an employment agreement with medical specialists. I think it's up there as Exhibit I.
It's really hard to find all these. I have it. It's fine. That was easy. I got it. Yes, I have it.
Is it up there?
Yeah.
All right, let's just take a look at that. There are some covenants not to compete contained in that employment agreement. Can you locate them?
I'm not sure if it was in the third before it was in the 4.4. Yes, there we go.
Okay. 4.4. Okay. This was part of your agreement that after termination for a period of 2 years, after termination of your contract, you will not provide directly or indirectly in a private practice or a hospital setting medical services within a radius of 10 miles in the state of Indiana or 3 miles in the state of Illinois. Any of the offices where you provided medical services on behalf of the corporation and any of the hospitals at which you provided medical services on behalf of the corporation?
Correct.
Okay. Now, and it also contains a covenant to resign your hospital privileges, doesn't it?
Correct.
Okay. Now, if those covenants are enforced, you are going to have to resign your privileges at St. Catherine Hospital, where you worked while employed with medical specialists, right?
I have to resign my privileges in all 16 hospitals.
Okay, I'm sorry, how many?
All 16
All
hospitals.
16. So, Community, St. Catherine, St. Margaret,
All the way to LaPorte.
all the way to LaPorte. And you also will not be able to work within 10 miles of any of those hospitals,
Correct.
correct? Now, Doctor, I'd like to just talk briefly about your medical practice since June 30th of 2013. Where do you practice?
I practiced at St. Catherine Hospital and at Munster Community Hospital and at Kindred Hospital.
Okay. Do you also have offices?
I do have an office.
Okay, where's that at?
It's not my own office. It's just I'm friend with the owner who allowed me to share an office space with him.
Okay, you see patients there?
Yes.
Do you have like a substantial outpatient practice there?
No, I have half a day a week where I see patients, follow-up patient.
Follow-up from...
The hospital.
Follow-up from hospital patients that you...
Correct.
And where's your office located?
9696 Gordon Avenue in Highland,
Okay.
Indiana.
No further questions.
Close exam.
Have you had any meetings with Dr. Stemmer or anybody else associated with medical specialists in which you've been asked to be employed?
Your Honor, objection. I'm going to ask for a sidebar before the rest of that question comes